Hello guys, welcome to La Ruby Claudia's channel. I'll be showing you how to make this organza ruffle off shoulder dress. So my emphasis will be on the ruffle alone. So I also have a tutorial on the off shoulder. So I'll be uploading that after now, okay? Uploading everything is will be too long, right? So I decided to separate them. Okay, so this is my off shoulder dress already sewn, and I have a lacing at the back. I did a lacing, and in order for you to get your round shoulder, you need off shoulder, you have to measure your round shoulder. So this is how you get your adequate round shoulder. Okay, so for me, I did the lacing at the back, so I took off 5 inches. So the lacing is 5 inches, so from my off shoulder I subtracted 5 inches. But if you are doing a zip, you don't need to take out anything. So my off shoulder, the off shoulder I used here is 42. I took out 5 inches for the lacing at the back, so what I have is 37. So the round shoulder measurement is 37. That is what I will be working with. But if you're doing a complete dress with a zip at the back, like I said, please be sure to use your round shoulder measurement. Don't take out anything. Okay, also for the sleeve, you can do without the sleeve, but I chose to sew a sleeve on this dress so that you can easily take off the ruffle part if she doesn't want it, because it's no the ruffle is detachable, right? Okay, so now this is the base that I'm cutting right now. So the base, you need a base for the ruffle. Okay, so the base of my off shoulder is 37. Remember I said my round shoulder is 37, so the base is 37. That's the length, while the width is 5 inches. Okay, so you add your folding and your sewing, your seam allowance, sorry, which is 0.5. So what I have here is 5.5, and so I'll be sewing out half inch. Okay, and then I'll sew both sides, but I make sure you add your seam allowance on both sides. Okay, so your length plus your seam allowance, so that is how you get your base. So after which you sew, and then you get your organza. So now for this organza fabric, I got 10 yards. So this is a formula of how to get your adequate material, to know the how many yards you need to get. So now your round shoulder minus 5, my round shoulder minus 5, that's the 5, remember, is the lacing for the back, so I have 37. So 37 times 10, how did I get my 10? My 10 is the height of the ruffle. So if you want it very very high, you can do 12, you can do 15, but remember it will be on fold. So now I won't have 10 exactly, I'll have 5, because when I'm placing it will be folded. So I did 10 inches. So 37 times 10 will give me 370. 370 divided by 36, you measure your fabric by 36 in yard. Okay, so that 36 will give me 10.3. So that is to tell you that you need 10 yards to get your organza, to sew your ruffle. So on the other hand, and that's because I'm doing 1 inch spacing, but if I'm doing 2 inch spacing, you measure your round shoulder, divide by the number of spacing. If my spacing is 2 inches, I will do 37 divided by 2. Then if my spacing is 37 divided by 3 times your height. So if you are doing 10 inches height, so your whatever you divide your round shoulder by, then you multiply it by the height. So I did 10 inches, then by the time I place it to be 5 inches wide, so the height will be 5. But if you want it very very high, you can do 12, you can do 10, you can do 15. If you do 15, just know that the height of your ruffle will be 7.5. So that is how you get your adequate, your correct yardage. So you don't have to stress because you think you have enough. I actually thought I had enough until I'll be buying too much, until I actually did the calculation and then realized I needed 10 inches 10 yards for a round shoulder of 37. So you can imagine, if I'm doing a round shoulder of 42, I'll be needing more. Okay, so but if you want to manage, you can just do a lot of space. You can do 2, 3, or 4 inches spacing. Okay, but I did 1 inch spacing, right? So having done that, what you need to do is to fold your organza into 4. I mean, you fold the width. The width is what you fold into 4. You fold once and then you fold again. It means that you are folding the width into 4, but you still maintain your 10 yards or whatever number of yards you are working with. So mine is 10. I fold once and then I'll fold again. So after folding, then you sew the other parts. Okay, you sew the end, the part where you folded, where the folding ends, you just sew it straight down with using 0.5, that's half inch. You sew it down, so everything will be inside. So what you need to do is to turn it inside out. So after sewing, you need to turn, so the rough edge, the part you sew will be inside. Okay, so it means you are sewing from the beginning to the end down to your 10 inches. Okay, so this is my base. Like I said before, my base is 5 inches. Okay, after sewing I have 5 inches, so you can see the way I sew it. I turned it the other way so that the part I sew will be in the middle, and that is the part I turned it from, and then I iron neatly. Then you make sure you sew both sides before turning. Okay, so what I have now is my actual round shoulder 37. That is the length of my base. Now, like I told you earlier on, that the difference, that's my ruffle lines, is 1 inch. That's 1 inch. That's why I have 37 inches. My round shoulder is 37, but I'm doing 1 inch apart. So if you are doing 2 inch apart, you multiply your 2 inch by your round shoulder. So just draw your lines, your straight lines. So I marked my 1 inch, and then here now you get your organza. After sewing, you turn also. After turning, and then you make sure the part you sew, like you did the base, it should be in the middle. Okay, the part you sew should be in the middle. Then now you have to start marking your 10 inches height. Okay, remember it's 10 inches. If you want it higher, you can do 12, but when you're placing it on your fabric, to be 5. Okay, to be half, because it will be on fold. So I did 10-inch height, but then when I'm placing it to be 5, so it will be 5 inches high. Okay, and then you need to do a loose stitch on your machine. Use your machine to sew a loose stitch so you can make gathers. So you are to make gathers on. So on this my 10 yards of fabric, now I'll have 37 lines, right? 37 lines. That's, I'll be making 37 gathers on this fabric, 10 inches apart, 10 inches differences. Okay, so you make sure you make your gathers. While making your gather, if the rope happen to cut, then you can use your needle and thread to make the gathers. Okay, so it's possible that some of them will cut, because the thread is not very thick. You are using a loose stitch on your machine. Okay, so after doing that, then you get your base, your 1 inch that you marked before. You've already marked 1 inch on your base. You can see it. Sorry, it's not very clear, but I'm sure you can see it. And then you place it. You're also placing the 1 inch on the tip of your the tip of your organza fabric. Okay, the ruffle, you start from the beginning, from the tip of your base. Okay, you sew it, and then you turn it, you flip it the other way so that the rough edge will be inside. And then the gathers you make, you start sewing the gathers on your lines, one after the other. Your 37 lines you made on your base, you'll be sewing the gathers. So what you need to do, you draw your gathers. After drawing your gathers, you can now pin. Okay, when you pin it and then you sew, make sure your ruffle, the gathers you made, it's on the lines of the 1 inch, on the lines of the base. That is why our base is not too high, so that it will be full. Okay, if you can see that the after making the gathers, I still have there's room for gathers, because the organza is wider than the base. But if they are the same, it won't come out well. So that is why you need to make gathers, and then you pin and you start sewing. That is just how it is. There's no big deal about it. But where the trick is, just be sure that you mark your lines and you follow the lines correctly. Don't skip. That is why you need to use colored chalk or colored pen, whatever it is that will make you see it very well, and then you mark it and you follow. So this is me sewing now. This is me on my sewing machine, and I'm sewing it down one after the other. It's going to take a little bit of time. Don't rush it so you don't miss it, or because the lines are very close. Like for me, because I did 1 inch difference lines apart, they are very, very close. There is every tendency for you to skip one line and then move to the next one. But if you do that, you won't have your ruffles the same. It will be, some parts will be fatter, will be bigger than some. So if you want everything to be the same, you need to mark. So I'm just sewing it. After marking, I'm doing it carefully. So this part took a little time because I was very, very, very careful. Yeah, I need to remind you, have you subscribed to this channel? If you know you are getting value for this video, please subscribe. And if you'll be replicating this style using my tutorial, please, you can tag me on Instagram, or you can post it on our Facebook community on La Ruby Facebook community on Facebook. Okay, so you do well to tag us or post it there, and we'll share in your joy. Okay, so don't forget to subscribe and also leave a comment. Like I said, I'll be dropping the tutorial for the off shoulder dress, the off shoulder I made for this dress. I'll be dropping the tutorial after this now. Okay, so this is how you go about sewing all your ruffles one line after the other. So be careful, take your time, and then you sew it, and I can assure you, you'll be happy, you'll be glad you did. Like I said, your spacing is up to you. Don't start with 1 inch and then later you do 2 inch apart. If you're doing 1 inch, you continue with the 1 inch all through. If you're doing 2 inches apart, you continue with it all through. So that is how you go about your organza. Okay, so after doing that, what you need to do is to get your fabric and then you place it. Okay, so it's quite simple. Get your off shoulder dress, and then you place it on it. Straightforward, no big deal, very simple. My tutorials are quite very easy if you follow me, right? Okay, so now what I'm doing now is I'm just sewing. So I'm taking my time and I'm explaining to you that you don't have to rush this part. Okay, after sewing one, you sew the next, right? And don't forget to pin. Pinning is very very important, so you don't miss your lines. So you pin the beginning, the start point, and then you pin the end point on the base. Okay, so that you'll be able to follow. It will be easy for you. If you don't pin, the tendency for you to skip a line is very very easy. So you're pinning each of the lines. Okay, so yes, I also must add that the part you sewn inside, the part you sewn should be inside, shouldn't be the part outside. You can see that you won't even notice that the fabric was even sewn at all. After, like I mean, the part you folded into four, after folding, when you are turning it, make sure you turn it to the middle so that the lines won't show. Okay, so after sewing now, I have 2 more lines left. So this is what I have after sewing the ruffle. I have 2 more lines left. Okay, so the end and then before the one before the end. So now I want to finish the end part because it will be difficult for me to finish the end of this last line of this ruffle. So that's why I skipped the one part and then I decided to sew so it will be easy. So I turned it the way I did at the beginning. You make sure you draw your gathers also, and then you sew it at the tip. Yes, you have to sew it at the tip. If you don't sew it at the tip, you have a space there. Okay, so be careful to, but don't sew it on your line. So I still have one more line before the last one, but I'm sewing the last line here. I just want to conceal the rough edges. The rough edge shouldn't be showing. It shouldn't be showing outside. In fact, nobody should know that there was anything sewn there. So that is why I'm sewing that part first. So I needed to show you this part because you might find it difficult finishing it if you don't do it this way. So you can decide to sew this part, leave 2 or 3 lines before you finish it, before you go back to it, finish the end and then return back to the lines you left. Okay, but be sure that you have your organza marked out. Your organza matches your ruffle matches the numbers of lines on your base, so you won't have issues, so you won't have a shortage or an overage. Even if you have an overage, you can easily cut out the overage from your organza, but you can't have overage on your, because you did your calculation. If you did your calculation correctly like I showed you, you won't have an issue. So I've sewn the end already, so I want to finish the part I skipped. Yes, now you can see it's now easy for me to sew this part because I did the last one first. Okay, if I had done this first before sewing the other one, it's possible, yeah, but it will be difficult and it will take your time. Okay, so it's simple, it's straightforward. Yeah, I try to make tutorials very very simple. So I must remind you, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to leave a comment, give us a thumbs up, share these videos with friends. Okay, all right, so now this is me, I'm done with the ruffle. You can see how simple it is, although it took a little bit of time, but fine, I'm done with it. So what is left now is you need to cut out the threads and then place it on your bodice, on your round shoulder, your dress. Okay, so like I said before, you can do without a sleeve. Okay, but I chose to do a sleeve for this, so it's going to pass. But if you don't have a sleeve, you can just measure the part you want to you measure your sleeve, your sleeve length, and then you place you measure your sleeve length on your ruffle base. That's the ruffle, and then you make sure you pin it. By the time you pin it from one end to the other and your round shoulder measurement is correct, you'll be okay. So when you pin, you can now tag, but don't forget to finish the armhole. Okay, so I'll use my overlocking machine to overlock the armhole, okay, after sewing the sleeve. So now what I'm doing is tack, pin and then tack. You use your needle and thread to tack it, so you don't need to sew this on the machine. You can tack it on the person's body, you can tack it on your mannequin, or you can also tack it on your on the table like I'm doing right now. Okay, so you take your time, you pin, you just tack the up. Okay, you tack the up with needle and thread. Make sure you tack firmly so it doesn't fall off and you don't have any loose part or any loose ends. Okay, so you can see that the back of the ruffle is well covered, the back of our dress is covered, so the eyelet is almost not seen, but fine, you're still going to see it by the time you lace the dress. Okay, so this is just it. There's no two ways about it. It's quite simple, it's straightforward, and then you lace it. If you're doing a zip, you can now zip your dress, and then you have your beautiful off shoulder organza ruffle dress. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching. So now what you can do, if you want it longer, you can stretch it, increase it. So I'm increasing it here, and then I'm reducing it again because it's too long. So what you need to do is to put your hand inside, and then just look at what I'm doing, and then find a way to, so I'm reducing the length. It's not too long. You can see it's not as long as it was because I've reduced it. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a comment.